everyone. Welcome to Mission to Inspire. My name is Shola, as you know, and we've got a wonderful guest here with us today. His name is Bryan Kramer. Hi, Bryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Bryan is all the way, well, he has joined me all the way from Portugal today, and we will be talking about unlocking the human side of business, which is one of his, I'm sure, one of your very well known topics. So it's not going to be an issue on this interview today. Bryan, I'm going to leave it to you to introduce yourself properly.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. I am a past business owner. And still a business owner, I guess. I've been in the marketing communications business my entire career, having owned several businesses. One called Pure Matter, which we had for 25 years, and created campaigns for all kinds of companies like Cisco and Netflix and IBM and MasterCard. And then also a business called H2H Companies, which helps grow individuals through executive coaching. And 6 years ago, I embarked on a exit plan out of the agency world into being an executive coach and advising companies. And that's what I've been doing now for 6 years full time. I've been doing it before that, but I've been doing that. I am also a keynote speaker. I traveled over 200 days a year, gave a global TED talk, wrote 2 books. One book, How Sharing Powers the Human Economy, which is called Shareology, and Human to Human. There's no B2B or B2C, it's H to H, human to human. Both of those books have been my pride and joy. And anyway, that leads me to where I am today here. 2 kids, both out of the house, empty nesters. My wife and I now live in Lisbon, Portugal as of 7 months ago, and we're just enjoying life, working
Right.
abroad and having some fun.
Wow. Nice to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you.
It seems you've been very busy. You've been very busy. And busy is not busy not doing anything. I mean, busy traveling the world and doing all the things that you do.
It's certainly at times in my career it was a bad busy, and other times it's a good busy. Right now it's a good busy.
Right. Great. I was reading through your bio and I can see that you were dubbed the Zen Master to digital marketers by Forbes. I mean, how did you cultivate this unique approach to blending digital strategies with human connection?
Uh, a lot of a lot of what I believe in is taking a step back and taking a look at things through a different lens. Um, Now I did the article where that came out, where they called me the Zen Master, was kind of nice to receive. It certainly made me feel good about the work that I was doing.
Wow.
Um, the thing that I think is most important is we're all wanting the same thing, and really every day we're rushing towards this goal line that doesn't exist. There's no end date to any company. There's no finish line. It's a constant improvement process. And so that's what we have to take in mind, and figuring out what's the next best thing, what's the right next move. What do we need to do that is going to fulfill us at the same time as humans? So I'm really a big believer in taking a breath, taking a beat, if you will, and just creating that from a place of consciousness.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that came from. The
Mhm.
Zen Master. Not that I'm a Zen master by any stretch, but I do believe in a lot of and follow a lot of, believe it or not, in the area of Buddhism, and looking into ways that we can integrate both business and life harmony. I don't believe in balance, and this is coming from a Libra. So I think that there's a lot of ways that we can, have wellness and have joy in our life and still be able to work and succeed and do all the things that we want. So sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place because I feel like there's so much in that topic of that question that you asked that there's many roads I could go down. But at the end of the day, it really is about having a lot of what fulfills us, as individuals, as we approach everything that we do, and at the same time figuring out what is that purpose, what is that why behind what we're going to be doing together as a team. How do we approach that? What's the goal? And then let's go get it.
Yeah, you're very right. But then what role has the human centricity played in your journey? What role has it played?
What role has centricity played?
Yeah, human.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Human centricity. Oh my gosh. Every role. It's like the core of who I am. It's funny. I think that I look at everything and think, how can we use, and this is ironic to your question, but how can we use technology and humans to make us more human, not less human? Because right now there's so much. I mean, if you look at just Chat GPT that came out yesterday at the time of this recording, it came out with the equivalent of what everyone's calling her, a personal assistant that can do a lot more than we've ever been able to do.
It's true.
But what I look at when I see that isn't how can I replace things, it's how can I enhance being more human, if that makes sense. So how do I enhance being more engaging, or how do I enhance having more time to spend doing the things that I care? And so I'm a total optimist when it comes to what's possible if we had and when we have more time. Part of that is not just technology. Part of that is on us to be able to carve that out. Part of that is is it possible for us to be in all places and be more human, using things like technology? And quite frankly, I don't think that is the sole answer. I don't think that we want to scale humanity. I think that it's the beautiful imperfect moments that actually make us more human, not scaled moments that make us more human. So I'm not looking at how do we scale humanity. I'm looking at how do we have more moments that matter.
More moments that matter. Wow. So how then do you prioritize the intensity in business interactions? How do you prioritize it then? Your digital marketing and your human interaction. How do you prioritize it?
Interesting question. These are great questions. How do you prioritize digital marketing and human marketing? Is that right?
Yeah. How do you prioritize them? Because they're two different strategies of marketing, but you use both of them anyway. How do you prioritize it?
Yeah. I think that it really, it's going to come down to whatever the strategy is. So I'm not trying to evade your answer, or your question, but I think that a lot of it comes down to what is it that you're trying to accomplish, and then what do you apply, to it. Here's the thing, there's a question that you should always ask, and that's what's the impact that you want on your potential client or customer. And I think impact is an emotion, right? How we impact others is huge. So when you walk up to you're in a store, let's just take this for instance, and you walk up in a store and you have a bad experience, that's an emotional impact.
Okay.
When you walk up into a store and you have a great experience, like they treat you really, really well,
Yeah,
now your impact has changed. So,
that's
I mean,
true.
just to bubble it down to the like super simple, like fundamental way of how we want to be treated. Now, when we
Mhm.
escalate that to like an incredible experience, you're like we were in a hotel and they came to our door with a dog bed and treats and all kinds of things for our dog that was staying there, and like had her name, printed on the outside. And I was like,
That's so
who
sweet.
does this? Right. And so like that's an emotional impact. That is an impact of me
Yeah,
going, well, maybe I want to come back to this place again,
that's true. Mm,
and so ask that question first and say, what is the impact I want here? And then how are we going to achieve it? And now what do we want to layer in?
yeah.
What's too much digital? What's too much human? I mean, too much human can be creepy too. Let's be honest. Like we don't want too much human sometimes. Sometimes we want less human. So it really depends on what is called for and the impact that you want
Mhm.
before you start to answer that question. Now, that lady showing up every day with a new dog bed and like really pouring it on, that might have been too much human. Just that little spurt of kindness was just good enough. And so you really want to ask that. That was on the human side. On the technology side, when I get bombarded with too much email, I'm sure you do too, like too
Yeah.
many digital touch points. Now all of a sudden you start to think, well, where's the human in all of this? So,
Yeah.
so that it's not a perfect answer because it's not the same every single time, but it is something that you have to adjust based upon the impact that you want. And so you ask that and then go for it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get you. But then some people like the human touch. Before digital, it was always human. And I don't think that was too much anyway. But I think it's all boiled down to individual preference, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Well, imagine now technology being able to know what that is so
Mm,
that then you can be more human.
that's true.
Um, right. So, there's different nuances to that. I think you're right. Now, like back in the day when vacuum cleaners used to come to our door or
Yes. Yeah.
door-to-door salespeople,
Mhm.
um, I didn't enjoy that. I
I
didn't
didn't like
enjoy it
that
at all.
either.
Like it maybe there was once in a while like someone caught my eye and I was like, well, that's cool. But when they were pushy and they were in my doorway, they
Mhm.
were like almost inviting themselves into my home. And I
Mhm.
felt like that was like too much. Like maybe that's just me.
That was
So now maybe others do enjoy that. Maybe it is a personal preference like you're talking about. So, these are the things that also still live on today when
mm,
we say you have a personal preference, to your point of how many times somebody reaches out and calls you or they um you know uh come to your digital door, so to
yeah.
speak. So
Yeah.
the same thing for me, like if you email me twice a day every day, that's invading my space. If you do it once every week or 2 weeks, now all of a sudden I'm okay. So
Right.
it's the same as coming to my home as it is in how often you come to my digital door, right?
That's true. That's true. That's very true. That's very true. In your experience working with business globally, yeah, different businesses globally, what are the common misconceptions about incorporating human digital marketing efforts and that of and yeah, human efforts into the digital? How do you what's the
Um,
misconception?
um, God, you really have great questions. I'm I love them. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that the most interesting thing to me was the work that we did around influencers
Right.
because it was people, it was digital marketing, content marketing, social media, demand gen, influencers, meaning people,
Yeah.
actual like caring, intelligent people. And it really wrapped in like all the different aspects of what I think allowed people to, the customer, the client, to hear from others, not just the client. So like, let's say IBM, we were able to build an influencer campaign, but we did it in an interesting way where we bought a loft, or rented a loft in New York, and had influencers who were the top 30 influencers come, and they built the future.
Right.
They created a new forward-looking trend in a day that we managed around, and help them to craft. And then we turned that into 6 to 12 months of content. And then
Right.
they shared that content out, and now all of a sudden it became useful, educational content. So I think that, to answer your question, for me, the most interesting work near the out of the work that we did a lot of digital campaigns, and we did a lot of marketing, and all kinds of stuff. But I would say the influencer marketing campaigns really touched on more of the humanness of
Right.
what businesses could do.
Oh, okay. Okay. You actually advocate for working on the business rather than in it. Can you elaborate on this particular strategy?
Yeah, I'm not the first person to say that, but I do believe in it.
Mm.
Um, so working on the business, you really did do your homework. I keep every question, I'm like, wow, wow, wow. I feel like I'm going to turn this around and start interviewing you for how you, because it's one of the best lines of questioning I've had. So okay, so working on the business, not in it, is really uh an entrepreneurs, and CEOs, and I coach a lot of executives, and I
Right.
see most of them getting dragged into the business. And I did too, by the way. So that's where a large part of where I really like to focus is in how we make decisions.
Right.
I think that making a decision is embedded into our culture. It's embedded into our business. It's embedded into our daily lives. It's why I wear black shirts every single day,
Oh.
because making a decision is one less decision I have to make. And when it comes to, I'm just wearing a black shirt, so what decision is there if that's the easiest decision I make all day? And so decisions come down to how we make use of what we know versus what we don't know, and
Right.
finally figuring out like what is the direction that we want for our business. But now, coming back to your question,
Yeah.
if we're not making decisions,
Mm-hmm.
if all we're doing every day is we're just coming to work and fulfilling the work, we're just completing what we need to do, but we're not progressing the work, meaning we're not working on the business. We're not looking forward. We're not looking into the vision. We're not thinking about how we can make this better. We're just existing within it. Then
Right.
we're not creating. And so that's where I really love to uh, look the most, is in how do we create more of the right decisions for you, because there's no wrong decision. So the right decision for you that's going to then allow you to work on your business, not in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. So it does make sense. It really does make sense. It does. So working on the business rather than in it. Hmm. But a lot of people tend to work in their business though. They tend to take the decision. They tend to do some of the tasks. They tend to delegate and still work in the business rather than on the business and then work on the business. I mean, I think it actually it's both ways. Some people would do both. I don't know if you agree to that.
I think that it depends on how a lot of different things. There are nuances to when there are certain CEOs who just simply work on the business. I
Right.
would say that large corporations like
Mhm.
Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
IBM,
Mhm.
Cisco, like
Mhm.
MasterCard, like all those companies, they've got CEOs and executives that are just more or less working on the business.
In the business.
But I would tend to agree with you that that when you start to look in the smaller business realm or the mid-size realm,
Yeah.
you're going to find that most of them are working either in both or in just one category. So
Yeah.
I'd agree with you, and that's the hard part, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what's the right amount? How often do you carve out time? What's your own productivity look like so that you can create time to work on the business?
Yes.
And what, when's that look like for me? When we had 30 employees and a lot going on, a lot of different clients, and I was working in the business and at a certain point, and so I had to take off one day every quarter, and I went to the beach with my beach chair and
Right.
my laptop with no internet, and I would just sit there and I would type and work on the business. So that there's different flavors for how people can do this, but it's really carving out the time to do it.
Do it. That's very true. It's the time. It's the time. So you coach people or executives to work on their business rather than in it.
Yeah, I would say that, and I would also say I coach owners to help them make decisions.
Right.
I coach them to create a decision that they've been either sitting on, that
Mm-hmm.
they don't know is the right decision to make,
Mm-hmm.
or how they need to actually make the decision that they feel like is is today the day or is tomorrow the day. Well,
Yeah.
we need to figure out if that's the right one. Maybe there's a team around it. Maybe it's just simply, what do I want to write that book
Mm-hmm.
that's on my in my head, or how do I create the next idea for the next product that's been sitting in the back shelf.
Right.
Heck, it could be, should I get married? you know there's so many decisions that we make every day. What should I watch on TV tonight? I mean, there's decisions are endless, and we get decision fatigue, so then we end up not making decisions. So now we've got to weave through and start to figure out what's that next decision.
Mhm.
That's what I do.
Thank you for that. For people that want to contact you, how can they?
Oh, you can look two ways. Very simple.
Mhm.
Heck, I'll make it three. One is go to my website, bryankramer.com. That's Bryan with a Y, Kramer with a K. Or you can email me at bryan@bryankramer.com, or everywhere on social media is at Bryan Kramer. Again, Bryan with a Y, Kramer with a K. And my website's got a newsletter, my books, and if you sign up for my newsletter, then and you hit reply, you actually get me, and I will reply in true human fashion. So
Okay.
that's how that works. But yeah, those are all the ways to reach out.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Can you share some insights on fostering genuine connections and nurturing a supportive community, especially in today's community landscape?
Um, yeah. Well, so that's there's I heard kind of two different questions in there.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think that fostering connection and community is one of my like, it tugs at my heartstrings. It's one of the things I love the most,
Right.
because it's really where true genuine connection actually lives. Like,
Mhm.
for instance, when I moved here to Portugal 7 months ago, the first thing we did was look for community. And when we found it, we felt like we had a sense of place, a sense of being. And I think community lives everywhere. It's just a matter of how we look for it. If we know that to be true, then we know that every brand and every company can also start to create community.
Yeah.
But it has to be from the right place. It has to be genuine, and it has to be easy, and it has to be inclusive.
Yeah.
If we meet these different pieces of criteria, then now all of a sudden we can start to warm up the true connection of what it means to be human, which is really all around community. Community is two or more people. I mean, it's not something that has to be thousands of people.
Yeah.
It's a place where you can go and you can be with like minds, and you can feel like you can open up and share and be transparent. And if you have all these ingredients, you're creating something that's way better than anything else you can do, I think, in your business. It really gives you a sense of where to find answers, where to go next for your product, or service, and how to as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Mm.
When we can support everybody in this community, in our community, then all of a sudden everybody starts to feel like they're all winning.
Yes.
That's where I think community can play a role. How you find it and how you start it, those are the two greatest ingredients that you need to look at, and then you can build from there.
That's true. And then we can build from there. In your journey, can you share a pivotal moment, especially in your career, that reaffirms your belief in the power of human connection?
In my own journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
journey.
um Gosh.
You're a digital marketer, basically. So you believe in digital marketing, and I know you believe in human as well. But what? Can you just share a moment that reaffirms you, especially to the human connection?
um yes, a moment in community, I would say, is um probably when I'm in several Slack channels for different companies,
Okay.
and I feel like there's some that get it and some that are a little more challenged by it.
Right.
um but everyone in this one Slack channel that I'm in
Mhm.
gets a response, and not only a response, but then they also DM you afterwards, and they start to gain a relationship based upon your question to make sure you have the answer. And then they take it to from that point to an email to follow up to say, hey, how's it going? Want to make sure you got everything you needed. And would you like to jump on a Zoom and connect more? So now all of a sudden, I find myself on a Zoom with this person, and they're saying, hi, how are you? Tell me a little bit more about you. And then we have a relationship, and now all of a sudden when I see that person inside the Slack channel, from this point forward, I've got a name, I've got an understanding of who this person is, and I'm really, really tied into this community because what they just went like and humanized the whole thing for me. So think about that. Like, a community has to build offline, and then you can build it back online. And so here's this Slack community that could just be a Slack community where we all just communicate and have our fun, but to take or learn more, but to take it and actually branch it out into a meaningful conversation, then bring it back in to the
Mhm.
community. Really, to me, that's humanizing community.
Right, right. And that's very true. That's very true. I think sometimes it's actually quite good to be able to put a base to something. So digital is good, but as you say, you don't want too much human in your face, as well as you don't want too much digital. So it's balancing it. That's the most important thing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your. I know I said this like so many times, but I really mean it. Your questions were uh so nice and refreshing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to hear that. Actually, from my point of view, you've actually done so many interviews. So that's really encouraging from my point of view. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to advise people out there who might be listening to this interview and maybe they want to follow in your footsteps?
I'll tell you what, for anyone that's listening, I would be more than happy to have a human-to-human conversation. And if you have a decision that you're having a hard time making, I will offer you some time. So you can email or go to the website, and I'll be glad to help you make that through a decisioning process. And number two is, and this is the most important thing, if you heard anything today and you want to remember anything out of everything that we said, just remember that being human is your competitive advantage. That's the most important thing out of everything. If you just remember that one thing, please remember that.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. We really appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And it's goodbye from myself and Bryan. Thank you. Bye. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, follow, comment. Until next time. Goodbye.